Welcome back to Action Figure Obsession. It's me, your old pal Avian and Loaded, and thank you for joining me here on the Avian and Loaded channel for this look at some of my more unusual figures in my G.I. Joe Classified series display. G.I. Joe Classified series is a Hasbro toy line that began in 2020 with the release of the deluxe Snake Eyes, which was number 00 in the line. Each of the mainline G.I. Joe Classified series figures are numbered. So for example, the different Snake Eyes of 00, then he was re-released as 02 not long after the 00 came out. The 02 is a much less deluxe version of the 001 with a different paint, much less paint, fewer accessories, and really bad accessories. I have, I think, 3 or 4 02 Snake Eyes, and I have replaced all their handguns and rifles because they were really terrible Nerf gun looking accessories with big giant holes in them so they could peg onto his backpack, and didn't like the 02 Snake Eyes accessories. But anyway, my point is that many of the figures in the G.I. Joe Classified line, most of the figures have numbers, and I think they're closing in on number 200 right about now. My interest in the line, as far as new releases, has tapered off somewhat in the past year or two because there really have not been too many figures that were must-buys for me. I think the only two that I really wanted badly in 2025 were the Snake Eyes version 4 in the kind of paintball looking mask and costume, and then the Arctic Snake Eyes that came with the polar bear. This polar bear right here. Yep, he came with Snake Eyes. And yeah, and that was about it for 2025 for me and GI Joe Classified series. But as I say, they're closing in. I think I'm on about number 200 in the line so far. The line which began in 2020 as a sort of revival of the GI Joe Real American Hero toys from the 1980s, but in 6-inch form instead of 3 3/4 inch. Um, and I have about 380 figures in my GI Joe Classified collection, and some are just sort of compatible characters that I think fit in well from Marvel Legends, that fit in well with my GI Joe Classified series. Some are Valorverse Action Force characters. Anything that looks, military and like it fits in with the GI Joe Classified aesthetic, or could live in that world. Um, I think it's fair game to throw into my classified collection. Um, and that G.I. Joe Classified collection at almost 380 figures is the second largest single line represented in my collection in my toy room. The largest is probably Marvel Legends. Well, it certainly is Marvel Legends. I think I have about 500 of those. 500 of those, almost 400 GI Joe Classified figures, and about 100 of other lines like Mezco and Jada Toys and Mafex and smaller lines like that have fewer offerings that I'm interested in. But the ones I'm interested in, I am very interested in. But if there are only about 200 G.I. Joe Classified series figures, and I have 380 or so, just by doing the math, you can tell that I've got a lot of doubles, which I definitely do. They've only done 10 Snake Eyes, but I have 40 of them in my Snake Eyes display. So on average, I have 4 of each, which that's just an average. I only have 100 Snake Eyes because that goes for about $150 now. But on the other hand, I have 5 or 6 of the number 52 Snake Eyes that came with Timber, because that one ended up being way overproduced and went on clearance at Ollie's and Ross and lots of places. And I think I paid full retail for 2 or 3 of them, and then I think I got another 2 or 3 sets for anywhere from $15 to $20. Which was a really good deal for a really good Snake Eyes. But anyway, what we have here mostly are classified G.I. Joe Classified kit bashes. in one sense or another. There's one figure that I think only has one small accessory that is actually G.I. Joe classified. Oh, no, two. I see two. Okay. And I will get to him. But these are all, just figures that, if somebody came in and would look through my G.I. Joe classified collection, some of them would make sense. And some of them would be like, what the heck is this? So, starting with this guy right here. This is my kitbashed Fumbles from Robot Chicken, who is kind of comedy relief G.I. Joe classified character, and he is a little dusty. I haven't cleaned him off yet, and I should, but he is super kitbash because the body is, I believe, Torpedo from G.I. Joe Classified, the scuba diver. The weapon is actually from the Fortnite. I'm not sure which character had that in Fortnite. I was going to say Fortnite Snake Eyes, but the Fortnite Snake Eyes came with the same weapon, but it wasn't green. It didn't have any green accents. It was just black and gray, I believe. So it is the same sort of, I don't know, futuristic AK water gun kind of looking thing. If you don't stare too hard, it's kind of cool looking. And it has that, as I mentioned the other day, every once in a while you'll get an indent. That's not a true port for blast effects, but it does at least give you the illusion that there's a hollow barrel there that could be a real indicator that it's a weapon and not just chunky piece of plastic toy. Clearly it is, but of all the Fortnite weapons in the Fortnite figures that I bought, this weapon is really the only one that I like. Most of them are goofy, like the boogie bombs that look like hand grenades that mated with disco balls, that sort of thing. But that's good. I like that weapon in his hand here, Fumbles. The bag, the munitions satchel, is from Valverse Action Force. That was part of their weapons pack line. I think they did a line of those satchels, and I think it works well on him. It's kind of contoured to the body. The head is actually from the What If Steve Rogers, that giant robot character that they did in the What If cartoon. I can't remember. The Hydra Stomper. I bought, I think it was Agatha Harkness that came with this Steve Rogers head. And he even looks a little bit like Chris Evans, I think. If you can see the details on the face there, you can kind of get like a Captain America, Chris Evans look there, right? This was the head from that Hydra Stomper, and it fit very well on the Torpedo body. It had a small peg hole, and the Torpedo has a small peg, so that they fit together well. And then the helmet and with the night vision goggles, that is from Action Force Valverse as well. So Fumbles, for a character who's comedy relief in Robot Chicken, is actually probably, and we'll find out, but it's probably one of the most complex of the kitbashes that you're going to see here. One of the most disliked figures in the G.I. Joe classified line by the hardcore Real American Hero fans anyway was I think it was number 7 in the line, if I recall correctly, but this Gung Ho. This was the first Gung Ho here in the center, and it basically is still the same figure, Gung Ho. What I have added to it is an extra, I'm trying to think, I don't want to mess these guys up here as I'm fooling around. I think are those grenades? Yeah, I think those are grenades on his belt. Or on his thigh. Yeah, they're grenades on his thigh pouch or thigh whatever harness. Gotta be a word for that I don't know, right? The strap on his thigh. He had one, and I gave him an extra one from another. I bought a lot of these much hated Gung Ho's. He has Sergeant Slaughter's sunglasses. He has the Gung Ho hat on that came with that figure, the number 7, I believe. And I gave him a pair of dog tags from the 60th anniversary G.I. Joe Classified Series 60th Anniversary Army Soldier. More caffeine. So basically, this is the gung ho with an extra, thigh strap of words are so hard, of grenades on both thighs instead of just one. And he's got a rifle from Valverse Action Force. Let's see if I can remember which kind of rifle this is. Yeah, I don't know. Something with an M, probably. Probably starts with an M. This is the only one of this gung-ho in my collection that is pretty much intact. I've used a lot of them for kit bashes, but I wanted to have one that was sort of close to the actual figure as it was released. Pushes sunglasses up a little there. And other than the addition of the sunglasses and the dog tags and the Valverse rifle and the extra grenades, he's pretty much gung-ho as he originally came out. People didn't like him because he was based on gung-ho in the game that they were promoting at the time, the video game, the G.I. Joe video game. As the first wave of those G.I. Joe classified figures were as well, and they were highly criticized for that. They didn't look like the real American hero figures from the early 80s, early and mid 80s. They looked more futuristic, and they were trying to make them look tougher, I think, and not as nostalgic and not as backward looking. But it turned out that's pretty much what the fans wanted, and they've gone back and forth on that, updating their looks or just trying to be as faithful as possible. There is a later gung-ho that came in the G.I. Joe Classified Series Retro line that had his aquamarine outfit and his correct 7-pointed marine cover. And that, I think, distribution was a problem at the time when those the original Walmart exclusive retro G.I. Joe classified figures were coming out. And Gung Ho was one of those that I got lucky and found multiple times in that aquamarine outfit at various Walmarts. The only one that I never found at Walmart, I think, was the Snake Eyes, the Commando Snake Eyes in the retro line. Ended up having to buy those from an overseas seller for $60 each, but I don't regret it because they are great figures. And another figure based on that same gung-ho body, you can tell from the incorrect Marine Corps tattoo, they apparently couldn't use the trademarked design, is this guy, who really is just an amalgamation of parts. He has the same, as you'll see, gear on his arms as this one does, because those pieces fit this body very well, so I leave him on there. He has a automatic shotgun in his right hand from G.I. Joe Valverse, or G.I. Joe Valverse Action Force. The shotgun is from that line, and I really disliked this design when Valverse first released it, and I ended up with a whole bunch of them in that weapons crate. And I got rid of most of them. I kept this one because I like the color scheme of the silver and black. But I got rid of the rest of them, and now I realize it's actually it's based on a real design, and I like it. I think it works for big characters. It looks very intimidating and very threatening, and probably in real life can do horrific damage. And yeah, I kind of wish I had held on to those other ones, but I sold or traded the rest of them off. The head is the gung-ho head. As you can see, this gung-ho, the first gung-ho in the classified line, is kind of a porn stash. You see that mustache? This is the same head, but I gave him some goggles and the helmet to kind of differentiate. Oh, sorry, Fumbles. To differentiate the two of them a little bit. Maybe they're identical twins. Fumbles lost his head in a bid to sort of capitalize, I guess, on his robot chicken reputation. There, all right, you stay there, Fumbles. And this guy doesn't even have a name, so Fumbles, you got one on him. This guy doesn't really even have a name, but he's got a handgun from the Marvel Select Blade, and he's got the helmet from, I believe, who's the surfer dude in Classified? His name is not coming to me. Hang 10, though, everybody. I can't think of his name. Rock and Roll, I think. And then he's got goggles from, I think those are Dusty's goggles that he has. Oh, and the The vest is, I think, the Sergeant Slaughter vest from the Action Force line. Sergeant Slaughter, interestingly, is one of the only characters, if not the only character, to appear in both the Action Force line and the G.I. Joe Classified line. That's fascinating to me. But it just happened that Sergeant Slaughter made a deal with both companies, and he got figures made of himself by both companies. This is my Sergeant Simpson figure, loosely based on the Frank Miller and John Buscema issue of Daredevil that takes place in like a Texas oil town. And Matt Murdock, you never see him as Daredevil, but Matt Murdock kind of stumbles into town, and he takes on this corrupt sheriff. And this is my Sergeant Simpson. Also vaguely related to Nuke. I kind of, in my head canon, he is Nuke as a corrupt sheriff in small town Texas before he became Nuke. That's just loose head canon, just coming up with a justification for his look. So he has a Sergeant Slaughter campaign hat. He has a necklace of, I believe, a unicorn from the Drizzt figure from Dungeons and Dragons, Forgotten Realms, the Drizzt and Guinevere 2-pack. He has those marvelous, marvelous Sergeant Slaughter sunglasses, which if you have a character with ears that stick out enough and they can hold those sunglasses and support them, they are probably the best eyewear accessory in the history of 1/6 or 1/12 scale 6-inch action figures. The head is actually one of the alternate heads for the Hydra Brute in the Marvel Legends Hydra 2-pack. I think skin tone wise, it's a pretty close match. It might not look it on camera, but I've got very bright light shining on it. But in normal light, at a regular distance. And he's also got a Action Force, Valverse Action Force drop-down thigh holster and one of those hand cannons from the Action Force line. So that's my Sergeant Simpson kit bash, and this is that same weapon, except this one is kind of in a gun barrel, a darker gray, and the one on Sergeant Simpson's hip, I believe, is a brighter silver. This is the worst of my G.I. Joe Classified kit bashes, and this is basically a placeholder. It is the body of Mutt from Mutt and Junkyard. Like there's his dog training, arm protection thing that he has. It's the Mutt body, because I wanted 2 of the dogs, so I got 2 sets of the Mutt and Junkyard. And the Mutt body and the Shema from the Arctic Snake Eyes figure that came with Timber. I think if it's not from him, it's from Sergeant Stalker. They used the same one, that little scarf piece there called a Shema. Probably pronouncing that wrong. And the weapon is the weapon that Mutt came with. And the head is the much reviled, it's the least liked head sculpt in all of G.I. Joe Classified, to the best of my knowledge, Lieutenant Falcon, Duke's half-brother. And he does not look like Don Johnson, and he doesn't look who did the voice of Lieutenant Falcon in the G.I. Joe movie, the animated film, and he does not look like Falcon looked in the movie. So people were very upset that this head sculpt. I think he looks pretty cool. It's kind of an old-timey 1960s, early 1970s kind of a G.I. Joe face. And, as I always say to people who complained about this head sculpt, if you ran into a man who you knew was a veteran and had been wounded in war and had this face and looked like that, he looks like he's seen some shit. He looks like maybe he got a little messed up when he was out there fighting. And it's not like it doesn't look human. He just maybe isn't the most attractive guy in the bar, but, at 2 o'clock in the morning after some margaritas, who knows? Anything can happen. But, oh, God, they're all... Okay, well, everybody fell down. Not everybody, but most of them. But the only ones who fell down are ones I've already talked about, so I'm just going to move right along. But that is my, as I say, laziest kit bash in my G.I. Joe Classified series. It's just the Lieutenant Falcon head on a Mutt body with a Shema thrown around his shoulders. And that is, that's all the work that I put into it. And the reason for that, by the way, is that sometimes, something better got done with the other parts, with the other head from this body and some other things. I just didn't have it handy, and I only had room for so many figures on this spice rack. But sometimes you do a kit bash like this. just to put all the parts together and keep them together. And then if something comes along in the future, another body or another head or something, then this may get revisited and turned into something better. So when you do a really good kit bash, that leaves you with a bunch of leftover parts from the other figure that didn't get kit bashed. And, that's basically, this is the end result of that. That's what you get. I mean, this could be a G.I. Joe, and he's way in the back on the shelf that he's on, because he doesn't really mean anything to me character-wise. I don't have any headcanon for him. It's just Lieutenant Falcon's head on Mutt's body. And it's just a bunch of parts waiting for a better idea. And finally, this one, I love this one. I friggin' love this one, because the only G.I. Joe Classified series pieces on him are his thigh pouches on this drop-down holster thing on his thigh, and his beret, his jaunty beret, which I think may have come from Sergeant Stalker. One of the guys that comes with a beret, anyway. And the head is actually the head of that Hydra Stomper that I talked about earlier, that Fumbles' head came from. This is the actual Hydra Stomper head, which you can swap out for the Steve Rogers head if you have the Hydra Stomper. The body is the MCU Kingpin. The Kingpin from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then the fists are from, I think it's a Doctor Doom. Yeah, I think it's a Doctor Doom figure. Those striations on the fingers are kind of a giveaway. I think they're Doctor Doom hands. And this is actually my favorite kit bash in my G.I. Joe Classified collection. The Iron King. Who is the Iron King? Well, if you ever read any 1960s spy fiction or some Bond movies. He could be a Bond villain from the 60s. He's an authoritarian ruler of some small Eastern European country who was probably aligned with the Soviet Union and was probably always complaining about the United States and throwing, we need to throw off the yoke of blah, blah, blah. And the Iron King was, he was a bad actor on the world stage. And no one ever knew who he was, or I should make up a country that he came from. What country do we want to make him up to say that he's from? Something vaguely Eastern European. Leave it in the comments. He is the ruler, the ultimate ruler of that country, the authoritarian dictator, the murderous monster. He is the Iron King. And the fact that his mask vaguely looks like Iron Man, because the Hydra Stomper was designed by Iron Man's father, and the fact that his body is the body of the Kingpin, that has nothing to do with the fact that he's the Iron King. I mean, look at him. That looks like a real toy, right? That doesn't look like a kit bash. That looks like a real action figure of a real character, the Iron King. And he is indeed my favorite kit bash in my G.I. Joe Classified collection. And it's funny, because he has the least parts from G.I. Joe Classified of any figure in my G.I. Joe Classified collection. Just the little pouch with the pouches thing on his thigh there, on his left thigh, and his beret, and all the rest of them is Marvel Legends parts, the Kingpin and the Hydra Stomper. Now, normally I might have picked all these guys back up, but, I'm just going to go put them back on the shelves now anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But that was a look at my favorite G.I. Joe Classified kit bashes in my collection. Oh, you know what? Totally forgot Destro. Well, I got a minute or two here. This is my sort of... I did have a name for him. Davos Destro. So if Destro got invited to the G7 meetings at Davos so he could sell arms to all of the Western-aligned nations, this in my headcanon is what he would wear. It is the Marvel Legends Retro Tombstone body, which was more difficult to kit bash than you would think, because the head and neck were all one piece on that body, but luckily the head and neck on the Pimp Daddy Destro were also one piece. So I basically heated them up and the head comes off Tombstone real easy because he has an alternate head. But the Pimp Daddy Destro head, did have to destroy a Pimp Daddy Destro figure to get the head. But it was worth it, and I had 3 or 4 of those, so that's fine. And the benefit of that is that you get the Destro mask with the gold, but you also get the neckline indicating that he is not ashy white like Tombstone, but rather a Caucasian guy from Scotland, which is what Destro is. And he has the cape from the Pimp Daddy Destro, and he has the body of Tombstone, and I don't know where the fists came from. I've got a whole big box full of hands for Marvel Legends characters. But he strolls into the Great Hall at the meeting room of Davos where they're planning, the future of the world for the next year or the next 5 years or whatever these evil overlords do. I think this Davos Destro, I mean, he's so gorgeous and so beautiful that I almost forgot about him. But I think him and the Iron King, you could see them cooking up some shit together to screw up the world, right? Davos Destro and the Iron King. And if those aren't G.I. Joe villains, I don't know what are. So those, finally, that is all of them. I can't believe that I forgot that Destro. I just love it so much that I took it for granted that I had told you about it. And I hadn't even said a word. Can I pick everybody up without screwing everything up? Can I do that? Oh, God. He fumbles, lost his head again. Look at that. There. See the head down there? All right, screw it. We're done. Thanks for joining me for this G.I. Joe Classified Series Kit Bash edition of Action Figure Obsession. It's always a blast to have you stop by. I really do appreciate it. If you like the video, please leave a thumbs up. Like the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you're informed whenever I do anything next time. And share the video if you know anybody who likes G.I. Joe Classified, if you know anybody else who likes headless fumbles, if you know anybody who likes vaguely Eastern European authoritarian dictators like the Iron King here. I command you, share this video with your friends. The Iron King commands you. I just do that for the videos. I don't do that when I'm sitting around playing in the toy room. I swear to God. Thanks a lot, everybody, for stopping by, and we'll see you on the next Action Figure Obsession.